Commander HFY stood on the bridge of his massive warship and looked at the small blue planet below. Earth appeared so peaceful from space with its white clouds and green lands. The planet looked defenseless and weak, just like all the intelligence. Reports had promised his species, the Caltharians, had conquered 47 worlds already, and this one would be no different than the rest. The humans who lived on this world were primitive creatures who still used old chemical rockets to barely reach their own moon. They fought each other with simple projectile weapons and could not even unite their own planet under one government. HFY had read all the reports about their wars and conflicts and knew they would surrender quickly when faced with superior alien technology. Dr. Lisa Morgan sat in her underground laboratory deep beneath the mountains of Colorado and watched. The screens that showed massive energy readings approaching from the outer edges of the solar system. She had been tracking these signals for 3 days now and knew exactly what they meant. The day that humanity had been preparing for since 1947 was finally here. At NORAD military base, Colonel Jake Bennett received urgent alerts from satellites and deep space monitoring stations. Hundreds of objects the size of small cities were entering Earth's atmosphere and positioning themselves in orbit around the planet. Each alien ship was bigger than anything humans had ever built, and their energy signatures were off the charts. The alien fleet arranged itself in perfect formation around Earth like a metal ring of death. HFY smiled as he looked at the primitive planet below and activated his communication systems to send the standard surrender message that had worked on every other world. He spoke in broken English that his computers had learned from intercepted. Human broadcasts, people of Earth. Your planet is now under control of the Caltharian Empire. You will surrender all weapons and submit to our authority, or your cities will be destroyed. You have 1 of your hours to respond, or we will begin orbital bombardment of your population centers. In Washington, D.C., President Helen Carter gathered. Her emergency cabinet in the underground war room beneath the White House. Military leaders and government officials filled the secure chamber as they watched live feeds from around the world showing the alien ships hovering over every major city and military installation. General Rick Stone stood at the head of the table and briefed the president on what satellite reconnaissance was showing them. Madam President, we count 312 alien vessels in orbit with energy weapons pointed at our major population centers. Each ship appears to be heavily armed and shielded. President Carter looked around the room at the faces of her advisors and military commanders. Some looked scared, while others seemed strangely calm, as if they had been expecting this moment. She turned to General Stone and asked, "What are our options, Rick?" The general smiled slightly and replied, "Madam President, we have been preparing for this day for over 70 years. Operation Sleeping Giant is ready to activate on your command." Around the world, ordinary people went about their daily lives not knowing that their planet was about to change forever. Pete Johnson worked in his auto repair shop in Detroit, fixing cars and listening to news reports about the strange objects in the sky. Amy Foster taught her 3rd-grade class in Phoenix while trying to keep the children calm as they asked questions about the big ships they could see through the classroom windows. New York City office workers stood on rooftops and pointed at the massive alien vessel that hovered silently above Manhattan. The ship was so large it cast a shadow over half the city and seemed to block out the sun. People took pictures with their phones and posted them on social media, not understanding the danger they were in. The alien ships made no sound as they hung in the sky like dark clouds of metal and death. Their hulls were smooth and black with strange symbols carved into their surfaces that glowed with purple light. Energy weapons along their sides tracked human aircraft and ground targets with mechanical precision back on the Caltharian flagship. HFY received reports from his fleet commanders that all ships were in position and ready to begin the bombardment. The humans had not responded to his surrender demand, and their hour was almost up. He had expected them to beg for mercy by now, like all the other species had done. His science officer approached him with a confused expression and said, "Commander, We are detecting some unusual energy readings from the planet's surface, but our sensors cannot identify the source. HFY dismissed the report with a wave of his hand. These primitives probably have some crude nuclear weapons hidden underground. It will not matter once we begin the attack. Dr. Morgan checked her instruments one final time and activated a secure communication link to military bases around the world. Her voice was calm and steady as she spoke into the microphone. All stations, this is Control. The guests have arrived and taken their seats. Operation Sleeping Giant is now active. Repeat, Operation Sleeping Giant is now active. President Carter gave the order that would change the course of human history. General Stone, you have permission to show our visitors what human hospitality really means. The alien fleet hung in space completely unaware that they had just made the biggest mistake in galactic history. President Helen Carter looked directly into the camera as news networks around the world broadcast her response to the alien ultimatum. Her voice was steady and firm as she spoke the words that would echo across the galaxy: the United States of America and the people of Earth reject your demands. We will not surrender our freedom to anyone. Our answer is no. Commander HFY could not believe what he was hearing as the human transmission reached his ship. No species had ever dared to refuse the Caltharian Empire so directly. These primitive creatures were either incredibly brave or incredibly stupid. He decided to teach them a lesson they would never forget. Target their military command center. In the city called Washington, he ordered his weapons officer, fire a warning shot at low power to show them what our weapons can do. The massive plasma cannon on the underside of the flagship began to glow with deadly energy as it prepared to fire. HFY expected to see the human Capitol building vaporize in a cloud of superheated gas, leaving nothing but a smoking crater. That would make the rest of the planet surrender quickly, but the science officer interrupted him with an urgent report. Commander, I am detecting massive energy spikes all across the planet's surface. Something is happening down there. HFY ignored the warning and gave the order to fire. A brilliant beam of purple plasma shot down from his ship toward the White House, expecting to turn the building into atoms. Instead, something impossible happened that made every Caltharian on the bridge step backward in shock. The plasma beam struck an invisible barrier 10 feet above the White House and scattered harmlessly in all directions like water hitting a wall. The energy shield that materialized was stronger than anything in the Caltharian arsenal, and it had appeared from nowhere. Blue energy crackled around the protective dome that now surrounded the entire government complex. Similar shields began activating all around the planet as hidden defense systems came online after decades of careful preparation. What had looked like ordinary buildings and civilian structures suddenly revealed their true purpose as military installations. Shopping centers opened their roofs to expose missile batteries. Subway stations became launch platforms for advanced fighters. Dr. Lisa Morgan smiled as she watched the alien attack fail completely from her underground command center. Phase 1 complete, she announced to the military personnel around her. All defense grids are now active and operational. The International Space Station, which had appeared to be a simple research facility, began unfolding like a metal flower as hidden sections extended from its core. Weapon systems that had been disguised as solar panels and communication arrays rotated into firing position. Within minutes, the peaceful research station had transformed into an orbital battle fortress. Marine Captain Steve Adams led his squad out of what had appeared to be an ordinary grocery store in downtown Denver. The building facade fell away to reveal reinforced walls and heavy weapons as the structure converted to its true form as a military bunker. His men carried weapons that looked far more advanced than anything the aliens had seen in their intelligence reports. "Time to welcome our guests properly, boys," Adams said into his radio, as his team took positions behind energy barriers that rose. From the sidewalk, "Let them know that humans do not go down without a fight." Fighter pilot Lieutenant Kelly Wright climbed into her cockpit inside what the aliens thought was a farm silo in Kansas. As she activated her engines, the ground around her opened up to reveal a hidden launch facility. Her aircraft did not look like the primitive jets the Caltharians expected. Instead, it was sleek and angular with technology that seemed impossible. For such a backward species, her fighter launched vertically into the sky with impossible speed and agility as its hybrid human-alien engines roared to life. The craft moved in ways that violated everything the Caltharians knew about physics as it twisted and spun through their defensive fire. Kelly was not just dodging their weapons, she was dancing through space like the ship was part of her own body. On the ground, ordinary humans revealed abilities that shocked the alien observers. Construction worker Danny Mills grabbed a piece of Caltharian armor that had fallen from a damaged scout ship and crushed it with his bare hands. His enhanced muscles were the result of decades of secret genetic modification programs that had improved human strength and speed far beyond natural levels. Nurse Rachel Green worked in a hospital that had just revealed hidden weapon systems and communication arrays. While she treated wounded soldiers, she simultaneously accessed alien computer networks through neural implants that connected her mind directly to human computer systems. Her fingers moved across holographic displays as she hacked into Caltharian databases and communication channels. The aliens realized too late that every piece of intelligence they had gathered about Earth was completely wrong. The humans had been hiding their true capabilities behind a carefully constructed facade of primitive technology and internal conflict. What looked like a divided and weak species was actually a unified military force that had been preparing for this exact moment. HFY watched in growing horror as his scout ships were destroyed by weapons that should not exist on this backward planet. Human fighters moved faster than his own craft and fired energy beams that cut through Caltharian shields like they were made of paper. His invasion force was being systematically destroyed by an enemy that was supposed to be helpless. Sao, science officer, approached him with fear in his alien eyes. "Commander, these humans have technology that exceeds our own. Their weapons are more advanced than anything in our database, and their fighters are impossible to target effectively." Every human soldier seemed to know exactly where to hit the alien ships to cause maximum damage. They struck at power systems and engine ports with surgical precision as if they had studied Caltharian technology for years. The terrible truth was beginning to dawn on the alien commander that his fleet had flown directly into a carefully prepared trap doctor. Morgan received status reports from defense installations around the globe as Operation Sleeping Giant moved into its second phase. "All teams report ready for counterattack," she announced. "The Sleeping Giant is now fully awake." The Caltharian fleet found itself under attack from weapons they did not understand. Fired by a species they had completely underestimated, Commander HFY watched his tactical display in growing panic as red warning lights indicated damaged and destroyed ships throughout his formation. What was supposed to be a simple planetary conquest had turned into a nightmare. Lieutenant Kelly Wright piloted her fighter through the alien formation with impossible grace and precision. Her craft moved in 3 dimensions simultaneously as it twisted between enemy ships and fired bursts of blue energy that sliced through their hulls. The Caltharian pilots could not match her speed or agility, and their return fire missed by enormous margins. "This is Phoenix 1 to all units." Kelly spoke into her radio as she destroyed another alien scout ship. "These visitors do not seem to understand how we do things here on Earth. Let me show them some more human creativity." Her fighter suddenly split into 3 separate craft as hidden sections detached and formed their own attack formation. Each piece was fully operational and armed with weapons that made the Caltharians rethink everything they knew about human technology. The aliens had never seen modular spacecraft that could separate and fight independently. On-the-ground Captain Steve Adams led his Marines in an assault on a grounded alien transport that had been damaged by surface fire. His men moved with enhanced speed and coordination that came from years of genetic modifications and cybernetic implants. They were no longer entirely human, but something new and far more dangerous. "Remember, boys, these aliens came here expecting to find primitives with sticks and stones," Adams shouted as his team breached the alien hull with weapons that burned through, their armor like butter. Time to show them what evolved primitives can do. Construction worker Danny Mills used his enhanced strength to tear open the side of a Caltharian landing craft that had crashed in downtown Detroit. Inside, he found alien soldiers wearing powered armor that was supposed to make them invincible against primitive human weapons. Instead, Danny grabbed one of the armored aliens and threw him through a concrete wall. The alien technology that was meant to protect them became useless when facing humans who had been secretly enhanced beyond normal biological limits. Enhanced. Muscles powered by synthetic fibers gave humans strength that exceeded anything the Caltharians had encountered. Neural implants allowed instant communication and coordination between human forces. Nurse Rachel Green accessed the alien communication networks through her cybernetic interfaces and began feeding false information to the Caltharian fleet. She made their ships believe they were being attacked from directions where no human forces existed while hiding the real locations of Earth defense systems. Her medical training helped her understand alien biology as she identified weaknesses in their life support systems. Dr. Lisa Morgan coordinated the global defense from her underground command center as status reports flowed in from every continent. The alien invasion was failing on every front as hidden human capabilities revealed themselves. Weapons that had been disguised as civilian infrastructure emerged from concealment and began systematic destruction of the enemy fleet. "All stations report successful activation of defensive systems," Morgan announced to her staff. "Enemy losses are exceeding projections in all theaters of operation." The humans had spent 70 years preparing for this moment, ever since the first alien scout ship had been recovered at Roswell. They had reverse-engineered alien technology and improved upon it while carefully maintaining the appearance of a primitive species. Every conflict and war had been used to test new weapons and tactics in preparation for the real enemy. Corporate executive Alex Turner revealed his true role as a military coordinator when his office building transformed into a command center for regional defense operations. What had appeared to be civilian business networks were actually military communication systems that allowed instant coordination between human forces across the globe. "Phase 2 is complete," Turner reported to his superiors. "All enemy landing forces have been neutralized and orbital assets are taking heavy casualties." Farmer Bill Carter emerged from hidden bunkers beneath his cornfield, leading a militia armed with weapons that made Caltharian technology look primitive. His daughter, Emma Carter, who was only 16 years old, moved with the deadly precision of a trained soldier as she operated equipment that required cybernetic enhancement to use effectively. The aliens discovered that human children had been raised and trained specifically for this war. Every human born after the Roswell incident had been prepared from birth to fight an alien invasion. They had grown up learning alien weaknesses and training with captured alien technology. Emma Carter spoke into her communication device as she targeted enemy aircraft with a weapon system built into what had appeared to be a farm tractor. "This is Harvest 1 to command. The crops are ready for collection." Her weapon fired a beam that disabled alien electronics and sent 3 enemy fighters crashing into the nearby forest. The 16-year-old girl had just destroyed more enemy aircraft than most military pilots would in their entire careers. Commander Zexhai tried desperately to understand how his intelligence reports could have been so completely wrong. The humans were not primitive at all, but had been carefully hiding their true capabilities while preparing for this exact scenario. Every piece of information his scouts had gathered was either false or deliberately misleading. His science officer reported massive energy signatures appearing throughout the human solar system as objects that had been hiding behind asteroids, and moons revealed themselves to be additional human warships. The humans had not just prepared to defend their home world, but had built a fleet that could fight in space. "Commander, we are detecting human vessels approaching from multiple vectors. The officer reported with fear in his voice. They appear to have been waiting in concealment for our arrival. The trap was complete, and the Caltharian fleet found itself surrounded by an enemy that had been preparing for this battle for decades. What had seemed like a simple conquest had become a fight for survival against a species that refused to surrender and seemed to enjoy combat. The truth about Earth began to emerge as Dr. Lisa Morgan interrogated a captured Caltharian science officer in the secure underground facility beneath Colorado. The alien prisoner revealed information that explained why the Caltharian Empire had chosen Earth as their target. It was meant to be their final test before challenging the apex predator species that ruled the galactic core. Your species was selected because our intelligence indicated you were weak, divided, and technologically inferior, the alien officer explained. Through a translation device, Earth was supposed to be an easy victory to build confidence before we faced the real threats in this galaxy. Dr. Morgan smiled coldly as she realized the full scope of the alien mistake. You chose us because you thought we were harmless. That was your first error, and it will be your last. The Caltharians had been completely deceived by humanity's greatest strength, which was their ability to adapt and prepare for any threat. When the first alien scout ship had crashed in 1947, humans had immediately begun reverse engineering the technology while maintaining the appearance of a primitive species. Every war and conflict since then had been carefully orchestrated to test new weapons while hiding their true capabilities. Corporate executive Alex Turner coordinated global counterattacks from his command center that spanned multiple continents. Through quantum-encrypted networks, what the aliens had mistaken for primitive internet infrastructure was actually a military communication system that could activate instantly across the entire planet. All units, this is Global Command. Turner spoke into his communication array. Operation Sleeping Giant is now entering Phase 3. Begin active pursuit of enemy forces. The human response revealed coordination and planning that shocked the Caltharian observers. Every civilian appeared to have military training and access to advanced weapons, while every building could transform into a defensive position. The aliens realized they were not fighting an army, but an entire species that had been militarized for decades. Farmer Bill Carter led his rural militia as they emerged from underground bunkers with weapons that incorporated alien technology improved. By human engineering, his teenage daughter, Emma Carter, proved equally deadly as she operated systems that required cybernetic interfaces to control effectively. The aliens watched in horror as human children displayed combat skills that exceeded their own elite soldiers. These humans are not normal, reported a surviving Caltharian scout pilot to his commanders. Their children fight like experienced warriors, and their civilians have access to military-grade equipment. The pilot was correct because every human born after 1947 had been raised with the knowledge that aliens existed and would eventually come to Earth. They had grown up training for this day and learning to use technology that combined human innovation with alien engineering. The invasion had awakened a species that was literally born for war. Captain Steve Adams led his enhanced Marines through the wreckage of a Caltharian landing ship as they secured alien technology and prisoners. His men moved with superhuman speed and strength, thanks to genetic modifications that had been perfected over decades of secret research. They were no longer entirely human, but something new and far more dangerous. Command, this is Bravo Team. Adams reported as his squad finished clearing the alien vessel. Target is secure, and we have recovered additional technology samples for analysis. The Marines had not just defeated the alien landing force, but had captured their equipment intact. For reverse engineering, human scientists were already analyzing new alien technology and incorporating it into their own weapon systems. The species that had come to conquer Earth was instead providing humanity with the tools for galactic expansion. Engineer Maria Santos led teams of technicians as they systematically dismantled captured alien spacecraft in mobile field laboratories. Her crews could reverse engineer alien technology in real time and begin mass production of improved versions within hours. The humans were not just defending themselves, but were actively learning from their enemies. These power systems are actually inferior to our current designs, Santos reported to her superiors. We can improve their efficiency by 40% using our hybrid technology. Hacker. Jason Lee penetrated deep into the Caltharian computer networks using neural interfaces that allowed his mind to directly access their data systems. He downloaded star charts, tactical information, and intelligence about the alien empire's weaknesses, while leaving behind viruses that would cripple their remaining fleet. Command. I have access to their complete database, Lee announced from his cyber warfare station. Downloading fleet positions, supply routes, and strategic intelligence about other alien species. The information revealed that the Caltharian Empire was not the only threat in the galaxy, and that Earth would need to prepare for additional enemies. But it also showed that the aliens had weaknesses that human technology could exploit and that their empire was not as strong as they pretended. President Helen Carter addressed the nation from the secure bunker beneath the White House as reports of victory came in from around the globe. My fellow Americans and citizens of Earth, today we have proven that humanity will not bow to any foreign power, whether they come from across the ocean or across the galaxy. The president's words were broadcast to every human on the planet and intercepted by the surviving alien forces who began to understand the true nature of their enemy. They had not invaded a divided primitive world, but had instead attacked a unified species that had been preparing for this moment for over 70 years. Commander Zexhai watched his fleet disintegrate around him as human forces systematically destroyed or captured his remaining ships. The species he had expected to conquer in hours had instead turned his invasion into a complete disaster. Worse yet, they seemed to be enjoying the challenge, as they demonstrated increasingly creative ways to destroy his forces. His communications officer reported with terror in his voice, "Commander, the humans are not just defeating us, they are hunting us. They appear to enjoy combat and are treating this as some kind of game." The officer was right, because humans had evolved as persistence hunters who could track and kill prey larger and stronger than themselves. They brought that same relentless determination to warfare, and the aliens were learning that there was no escape once humanity decided you were the enemy. Commander Zexhai frantically ordered his remaining ships to retreat from Earth orbit, but discovered that his escape routes had been completely cut off. Human vessels that had seemed to appear from nowhere now surrounded his battered fleet in a perfect sphere of destruction. These were not hastily built ships, but massive warships that had been hiding in deep space for decades, waiting for this exact moment. Captain Roy Phillips commanded the human dreadnought New Horizon from a bridge that incorporated both human engineering and captured alien technology. His ship was twice the size of the Caltharian flagship and armed with weapons that made their plasma cannons look like primitive tools. The vessel had been built in secret asteroid facilities using materials harvested from the outer solar system. Attention, alien fleet. This is Captain Phillips of the Earth Defense Force. He broadcast on all frequencies. You came to the wrong neighborhood, and now you are going to pay the price for your mistake. The human ships moved with coordinated precision that demonstrated decades of training and preparation. They had not just built a defensive fleet, but had created an armada capable of projecting power across interstellar distances. The aliens realized they were not facing a primitive species, but a military force that had been specifically designed. To counter their technology, Lieutenant Kelly Wright led a squadron of fighters as they systematically disabled the engines and weapons of every surviving Caltharian vessel. Her pilots flew with enhanced reflexes and cybernetic coordination that allowed them to operate as a single unified organism. They struck with surgical precision that left the alien ships crippled but intact for capture. "This is Phoenix Squadron to New Horizon," Wright reported as her fighters completed their attack runs. "All enemy vessels have been disabled and are ready for boarding operations." The humans were not just winning the battle, but were doing so in a way that maximized their ability to capture alien technology and intelligence. Every move had been calculated to provide the maximum advantage for humanity's future expansion into the galaxy. Engineer Maria Santos led boarding parties onto the captured alien vessels, where her teams began immediate analysis and reverse engineering of their systems. Human technology had advanced far beyond what the aliens expected, and their crews could modify captured equipment in real time to serve human purposes. These ships are actually built with inferior materials and outdated design principles, Santos reported to Captain Phillips. We can retrofit them with human technology and double their effectiveness within a matter of days. The Caltharian prisoners watched in amazement as human engineers improved their own technology using methods and materials that were supposedly unknown to such a primitive species. The humans demonstrated engineering capabilities that exceeded anything in the alien database hacker. Jason Lee continued his penetration of Caltharian computer networks as he accessed their complete strategic database and downloaded information about every world in their empire. His neural implants allowed him to process alien data at superhuman speeds, while simultaneously installing viruses that would cripple their remaining military infrastructure. Command I have complete access to their empire database, Lee announced from his cyber warfare station, downloading strategic intelligence about 47 conquered worlds and their defensive capabilities. The information revealed the full scope of the Caltharian Empire and provided humanity with detailed intelligence about potential liberation. Targets. The species that had come to enslave Earth was instead providing the tools for their own defeat. Dr. Lisa Morgan analyzed the captured data and realized that the Caltharian Empire was built on a foundation of intimidation rather than actual military superiority. They conquered primitive species through overwhelming force, but had never faced an enemy that could match their technology. Their entire strategy was based on fighting weaker opponents. The alien empire is actually quite vulnerable once you understand their tactics, Morgan explained to the military commanders. They rely on fear and technological superiority, but cannot adapt when facing an equal or superior force. President Helen Carter received reports of complete victory from every theater of operation as the last alien resistance collapsed. The invasion that was meant to conquer Earth in a matter of hours had instead become humanity's introduction to galactic warfare. Her decision to reveal humanity's true capabilities had paid off in ways that exceeded all expectations. General Stone, prepare our forces for the next phase of operations, Carter ordered from the secure command bunker. If these aliens want to see what humans are capable of, then we will show them on their own worlds. Commander Zexhai found himself a prisoner aboard his own flagship as human boarding parties secured his vessel with minimal casualties. The humans moved through his ship like they had been studying its layout for years and knew exactly where to find every critical system. They demonstrated knowledge of Caltharian technology that should have been impossible for a species that had never left their own solar system. Captain Steve Adams led the boarding party that captured the alien commander and brought him before the human officers for interrogation. Zexhai looked at the enhanced humans with their cybernetic implants and genetic modifications and realized he was facing something completely outside his experience. You are not the primitive species our intelligence reports described, Zexhai said through his translation device as he faced his human captors. What are you really? Captain Phillips smiled grimly as he looked at the defeated alien commander. We are exactly what your report said we were. We are humans. The problem is that you never bothered to find out what that really means. The captured Caltharian officers began to understand that they had made assumptions about humanity based on incomplete and deliberately misleading information. The humans had allowed them to see only what they wanted them to see, while preparing a response that would demonstrate their true capabilities. Admiral Linda Hayes arrived aboard the captured flagship to take personal command of the alien fleet as human crews began converting the ships for their own use. She had spent her entire career preparing for this moment and now commanded both human and captured alien vessels in the largest fleet Earth had ever assembled. "Captain Phillips, signal all ships to prepare for departure," Admiral Hayes ordered. As she looked at the tactical display showing human control of the entire Caltharian invasion force. "We have some visits to make to alien worlds that need to understand the new reality in this galaxy." 6 months after the failed invasion of Earth, human fleets appeared at the borders of the Caltharian Empire, carrying a message that would reshape galactic politics forever. Admiral Linda Hayes commanded the largest military force Earth had ever assembled from the bridge of her flagship Earth's Gift, a vessel that combined captured alien technology with human innovation in ways that created something entirely new. The ship represented more than just military power. It was a psychological weapon designed to demonstrate that humanity had not just survived the alien invasion, but had grown stronger because of it. Every captured Caltharian vessel had been retrofitted with human technology that improved their performance while adding capabilities the original designers never imagined possible. "All ships report ready for diplomatic contact," Admiral Hayes announced to her fleet commanders as they approached the first Caltharian border world. "Remember, we are here to deliver a message, not to start another war unless they force us to do so." The human fleet included both Earth-built vessels and captured alien ships operated by crews who had been training with the technology for months. Human engineers had not just learned to operate Caltharian systems, but had improved them using principles that the aliens had never considered. Captain Roy Phillips commanded a task force of modified alien vessels that demonstrated human engineering capabilities to any observers. The ships moved with coordination and precision that exceeded anything the Caltharians had achieved with their own technology, while displaying weapon systems that incorporated improvements the aliens could not understand. Commander Zexhai served as an unwilling advisor to the human fleet. After months of interrogation and education about human capabilities, he had been forced to watch as his captors systematically analyzed and improved every aspect of Caltharian technology while preparing for expansion into his former empire. "The humans do not conquer like other species," Zexhai explained to a gathering of alien diplomats who had come to negotiate with Earth. "They do not simply defeat their enemies. They absorb their technology and become stronger. Every victory makes them more dangerous than before." The former Caltharian commander had become a living warning to other species about the dangers of underestimating humanity. His testimony about human capabilities was more effective than any military demonstration because he had personally witnessed their transformation from apparent primitives to galactic power. Dr. Lisa Morgan now served as Earth's first director of galactic affairs, operating from a facility that monitored alien communications across multiple star systems. Her department analyzed intelligence about potential threats while coordinating humanity's expansion into previously unknown regions of space. Intelligence reports indicate 17 different species are requesting diplomatic contact with Earth. Morgan briefed President Carter during their weekly security meeting. "They want to establish trade relationships and military alliances before we decide they are enemies." The alien response to humanity's emergence had been swift and decisive. As species across the galaxy sought to align themselves with Earth rather than risk becoming targets, the rapid collapse of the Caltharian Empire had demonstrated that human military power was real and growing. On Earth, children like Tim Foster and Jenny Phillips attended schools where alien languages and technology were taught alongside traditional subjects. The generation that had grown up during the invasion now prepared for careers in interstellar exploration and diplomacy while maintaining the military readiness that had saved their world. Veterans like Sergeant Chris Bell shared their experiences of the invasion with audiences who understood that Earth's victory had not been luck, but the result of decades of careful preparation. Their stories inspired new recruits who wanted to serve in humanity's expanding military forces. Engineer Maria Santos led research teams that continued to analyze captured alien technology while developing new innovations that combined human creativity with galactic science. Her laboratories produced improvements to everything from starship engines to communication systems that gave humanity advantages over their former enemies. We have successfully reverse-engineered Caltharian faster than light travel and improved its efficiency by 60%, Santos reported to the military leadership. Our new drive systems will allow us to reach any point in the former Caltharian Empire within days rather than weeks. The technological advances meant that human expansion into the galaxy would proceed at a pace that no other species could match. Earth's ability to improve captured technology gave them capabilities that exceeded those of the original designers. Ambassador Roy Turner met with representatives from dozens of alien species in a space station that had been built from captured Caltharian technology. The facility served as humanity's first diplomatic outpost beyond Earth and demonstrated their commitment to galactic engagement rather than simple conquest. Earth is open for business with any species that approaches us in peace, Turner announced to the gathered alien diplomats. But remember what happened to the last visitors who came here with hostile intentions. The warning was unnecessary because every species in the galaxy had heard the story of the Caltharian invasion and its aftermath, the rapid destruction of a major galactic empire by a supposedly primitive species, had created a legend that preceded. Human contact hacker Jason Lee continued to monitor alien communication networks from his cybersecurity center that could access data systems across multiple star systems. His neural implants allowed him to process information at speeds that gave humanity advance warning of any potential threats. Director Morgan, we are intercepting communications about 3 different species that are considering military action against human expansion, Lee reported during his daily intelligence briefing. None of them appear to have learned from the Caltharian example. Dr. Morgan smiled as she reviewed the intelligence reports because they showed that humanity's reputation was growing but had not yet reached the point where it deterred all potential enemies. It seems we may need to provide additional educational opportunities for species that do not understand the new reality. The final scene showed a human exploration fleet departing Earth for the galactic core where the apex predator species ruled from their ancient civilizations. Admiral Hayes led the expedition with vessels that incorporated technology from a dozen different alien species while maintaining the human innovations that made them superior to their original designs. This is Admiral Hayes to Earth Command beginning. Departure for the galactic core, she announced as her fleet entered hyperspace. Time to meet the neighbors and see if they are interested in peaceful contact or if they need the same lesson we gave to the Caltharians. Humanity had spent 70 years preparing for one invasion, and now they had an entire galaxy to explore, with the knowledge that they were no longer the helpless primitives that other species expected to find.